would like to ask international to use headset. So moderation will be in Russian. Я просил наших гостей включить наушники, потому что
Please put on your headsets, those who would like to hear the translation into English. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sergei Mitrofanov. I'm the founder of Mitrofanov and Partners company, and it is an honor for me today to be the moderator of our session, searching for the new champions of the city marketing. We have only 1 hour to understand what are the marketing champions, and maybe the floor in 1 hour would vote for a city, or not only a city, because we have Switzerland with us, for a region or a city that are considered champions. We have Frans van der Avert, Executive Director of Amsterdam Marketing, head of the Committee of the City Development of the Riga Parliament, Maxim Tolstoy, Deputy Head of the Department of Culture of Moscow, Vladimir Filipov, Oksana Sargina, Director General for the Development of the Tatarstan Republic Tourism Department, Pascal Yeni, President of the Tourist Body from Switzerland, and Ramazan Kabasekal from Ankara, from the metropolis of Ankara. We have quite a busy agenda, so please respect the timelines. You will be shown a notice once your presentation, the time for your presentation comes to an end. Well, most of the conferences dedicated to tourism can't go without Amsterdam. So France. Amsterdam is a very well-known case from the point of view of the urban marketing and urban branding. For many years, it has been in the focus of many conferences. I've been to Amsterdam many times, and I know it is a very interesting city. It continues to be a very interesting city. Can you share with us some new ideas, some new developments that we will see in the future in Amsterdam?
Thank you for inviting me. I have a small presentation for you about Amsterdam. Could we have the presentation? Yes, there we are. But first of all, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I want to show you some problems we have in Amsterdam, because everybody's talking about growth, but we also in Europe see a lot of challenges with growing cities and how we can control them. But first, let me welcome you to Amsterdam first. So this is about Amsterdam. Amsterdam Marketing is the city marketing organization of Amsterdam, and these are our goals. We want to be the top 5 in Europe, and we want that for our target groups, because we are the only city marketing organization which deals with residents, inhabitants, with visitors, and with business people. These are our target groups, and I very strongly believe that these 3 people, these 3 target groups, make the soul of the city. So they are equally the most important. What we do for residents, We try to get them proud of Amsterdam. We want to go them to a lot of cultural institutions. For visitors, we want to have a better kinds, a high quality visitors, and we want to spread them around the city. I will tell you something about that later. And of course, for business and meetings, we want to have a stronger image. We want to get new companies to Amsterdam, and we want to keep them in Amsterdam. But we have a problem. In Europe, we have a problem with very small cities, historical cities, and they are very successful. Here you can see what happens if you are a successful city. You see here photographs of Prague, of Barcelona, of Dubrovnik, and it's hell. There are too many people in the city. So the inhabitants actually feel lost. They say, my city is taken over, and this is actually what happens. The visitors take over in a city, and then the balance is actually gone in that city. So here are some examples of inhabitants, of people of the cities in Europe protesting against the visitors. This is Berlin, this is Barcelona, and this is very interesting. It says, refugees welcome, tourists go home. So this is really a big problem and a challenge for a lot of cities in Europe. And it doesn't stop, because we know the visitor increase is gigantic for the coming 5, 6, 7 years. We are going to build a new airport. There's low-cost travel. We have more people in Amsterdam. We have more students, more companies. So what should you do? What should you do? And that is very important. So we made all kinds of rules, new rules, sharing economy. What shall we do with Airbnb? Because it creates a big problem in a lot of European cities. New infrastructure, telling the visitors how to behave in another city, very important. And what we can do as a marketing organization is to try and to spread people around the city. So one of our main tasks in Amsterdam marketing is not to have more people, but really to have the people, because they will coming anyway, to spread them around the city. And we do this actually in 3 layers. You can see here, the red part is our historical inner city. It's our canal district. We have introduced 2 years ago a neighborhood campaign where you can see different neighborhoods in Amsterdam. And we made a metropolitan campaign. So the ring around Amsterdam, we are doing a big marketing campaign now. And even, and that's the orange circle, we're making the city much bigger by also promoting other cities in the Netherlands, The Hague and Rotterdam. So to convince people to go out more. And let me show you some examples. For instance, our neighborhood campaign. So this is really about neighborhoods in Amsterdam. This is our campaign for the region around Amsterdam. We renamed a lot of places in Amsterdam. For instance, we have 4 wonderful villages at the beach. It's only 20 minutes away from Amsterdam, but tourists don't know that. So we rebranded that in Amsterdam Beach. And when you rename something with the word Amsterdam, it gets closer in the mind of a lot of people. So we have Amsterdam Beach, we have the flowers of Amsterdam, we have the castles and gardens of Amsterdam. So we will trying to convince people to get more out of the city, longer out of the city. It's not the only solution, we know that, because a lot of people will still see the Van Gogh Museum, go to the Anne Frank house, go to see the canals, because it's the first time when you're there, you want to see those things. But if you come for the second time, or for the third time, or for the 20th time in Amsterdam, we can target in our marketing campaign these people by saying, hey, the city is much bigger than you think. Go into the neighborhoods and go outside the city. And this has been very successful. You can see that the neighborhoods are getting more and more people, but also you can see that the region, the metropolitan region around Amsterdam, is actually getting more and more visitors. Again, it's not the solution. The solution is a combination of a lot of measurements, of enforcement, of law, of infrastructure, because it is a challenge. It's a challenge for Barcelona, it's a challenge for us, for Prague, and for all these smaller cities in Europe, which gets so many visitors the coming years. So to wind it up, I show you a clip from our campaign about the beach. So this is, you could say, one of the solutions we have. But let me tell you something to conclude. It is the biggest challenge for European cities these days to really find an answer to this growing amount of visitors, growing amount of inhabitants. And I know Moscow is a very, very big city, so you have a lot of space. But for the smaller cities, this is really the challenge for the coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, France. Well, we don't have a sea, you know, in Moscow. Although it is called the port of seven seas, but there is no sea. Well, anyway, thank you very much. And now I'd like to give the floor to Maxim Tolstoy from Riga. Well, Riga is a lucky city because Jumala, the seaside town, is a must-go when you visit Riga, and well, you pay a lot of attention to make Riga attractive for residents and visitors. Well, if we had your issues, dear Amsterdam, because we, on the other hand, want to attract as many visitors as we can. And if you have a surplus of visitors, you can share it with us. Well, you know, the amount of tourists grew threefold from 2009. We had 700,000 tourists, and now we have over 3 million tourists per year, but we're still in phase when we need to have more tourists. And so, of course, we welcome everyone to Riga. And can I have the clicker, please? And right now, our motto today is to make it a good place for both residents and visitors. We don't have any natural resources. Fortunately, we do have a beautiful sea, not very warm one, but beautiful. I don't know if we have 7 seas and we're the capital of 7 seas, as Moscow is called sometimes. But we do have one sea, we do have an airport, roads that connect Riga with other European capitals. We'll have rail, Baltic Road, which is going to go around the Baltic Sea. This is something very important for us, and we do all that in order to well, make more money out of tourists. As simple as that. We're not selling oil or gas because we don't have any. We're just selling city views, and this makes quite a good profit. Tourists provide us with 1 billion euros almost per year. For our country, that is a huge amount of money, considering we're not a very big country and we only have 700,000 inhabitants in Riga. This is very important for us. Well, our positioning in the world is the following. We're the northern metropolis of Europe, a green city. If you have visited Riga, you of course know we have a very green city. Our strategy is aimed at making the capital comfortable for the resident or the visitor. We do everything we can not to in order not to avoid creating city highways and making it for making the city as comfortable as possible for the citizen. And we're also a hub for quite a number of routes. We try to take advantage of that as well. We have certain Soviet legacy, which creates certain challenges for us. We had several industrial areas with huge plants. Of course, you know them in Russia, like the RAF automobile manufacturing plant. We try to relocate them outside the city. You see the green areas on this slide. You see it is a green city. I don't know how we live amongst so many green areas, because we basically live in the woods. Our development strategy tries to, again, relocate all the main routes outside the cities. Outside the city, we try to leave the city without the commercial vehicles, without railways, without plants. Well, the previous speaker was saying that it is difficult to live now in Amsterdam because of the number of visitors. I hope we'll have the same challenge in some years. Well, when we're going to be saturated with visitors and residents, it would be a paradise for us. But for the moment, we have some space. So tourists don't bother each other. They feel comfortable in the city. Of course, you see other people in the city, but your personal space is wide enough to feel yourself comfortable. So you can really feel the city and feel comfortable. That is why we continue developing tools for attracting visitors, creating new technologies, or taking advantage of the new technologies to attract visitors. We also improve the comfort of the residents, like, for instance, a token for the school children when they go to school, or an interactive app with a map of the city for the tourists. So we try to make it the way that the tourists don't feel them as tourists, but feel them as residents. We try to make it everything comfortable. There are no language barriers. We speak 3 languages. We speak English. We speak Russian fluently. We have our own Latvian language. And for every visitor, that is a very comfortable environment. You don't feel any barrier at any point. We don't need interpreters. People from the municipalities have this ability of endlessly speaking about their city, but unfortunately we have a certain time limit. Well, your motto is that tourists are not tourists, they're almost residents. That is your motto. Is that correct? Well, yes. This is what we try to do. We try to make every visitor to feel as he's a resident. Thank you very much.
Интересные планы. Но я хочу
Very interesting plans. I would like to give a floor to the owner of our forum, to the representative of the mayor office of Moscow. Vladimir, you're responsible for cultural aspect. Culture is the biggest part of the tool of attraction. Tourist attraction. How does Moscow cope with this? Dear colleagues, I think Amsterdam showed us a very interesting experience. We have very strong cultural industrial ties with Riga. Last year in October, Moscow hosted the summit of the ministers of culture of global metropolises, and we discussed a lot of issues. We spoke about issues which we had in metropolises. Different colleagues came here from 30 global metropolises, starting from San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, London, and of course Amsterdam. Also, the mayor deputy, Housam Gran, came to us. We are thankful to our colleagues that this development is going on. And today we are speaking about the way of tourist attraction. We understand that if we support culture, the indicator of how you do this also is a support of economy of culture. And of course, the integral part of it is tourism. And you all can see that Moscow is changing all the time. Now we don't feel comfortable all the time. We can see that we have a lot of the streets are changing, interchanges, new interchanges are being built, but we can see the results already of these changes. And if we want to feel well in the city, so it should be comfortable in the city, it should be safe also for locals, for those people who work here, or commuters. Regarding tourism, in the touristic policy, there are several directions. Tourism, so you know there are different departments of tourism, business tourism and gastronomical tourism, and also so-called cultural or romantic tourism. And our department is responsible for this direction of tourism. What is important for us? So, of course, human resources are also important. What about competitive advantages on the one hand? And also we have also problems in Moscow infrastructure. This is quite historical. A lot of cultural institutions, not only in Moscow but in the whole Russia, have state financing, state funding. In Moscow, the Department of Culture is funded, so funds a lot of things: exhibitions, theaters, parks, cultural centers, and we. From the point of view of the budget financing, so we allocate about $1 billion to maintain these cultural institutions. There, 40,000 people work in these cultural institutions, and also these people who work in these cultural institutions, they also create some environment, and people come to them, and then they recommend to their friends and colleagues these places. So, and a lot depends on these people, on these employees who work in these cultural centers, cultural institutions. That's why we always have a feedback. In Moscow, we have this network of ground projects on portal of Moscow department. There are a lot of different projects on development of parks, and we always ask feedbacks. We always ask Muscovites what services they need, what approaches they like. We consider index of loyalty of our audience, and we monitor this in all sectors. You know, now better late than never, and in our museums, we have 450 museums in Moscow, and exhibitions, and they're all financed by our department, by state financing. We have navigation system for them. And now we translate everything in English and in Chinese, because we can see that touristic flow is growing, especially from China. For us, it's important to change mindset of our personnel, of our employees. We should not, we should be ready to welcome people in this cultural center. If we say that nobody comes to a cultural institute, it does not mean that that people are bad. Maybe it means that we don't welcome them in the way we should do this. We should be glad to see them, because sometimes people come and they feel some kind of, some kind of negative emotions coming from employees, and that's bad. We try to change this attitude. For example, if we set examples of libraries, we have 451 libraries in Moscow. We changed the schedule of work because we can say that people don't go to libraries, but if the library works only doesn't work on Sunday, and it works only till 6 p.m. on weekdays. Of course, it's not possible sometimes for busy people to come to these libraries. And if you come to a library and you can see the security guard who is not really happy to see you, that's also quite negative for people. We should be more friendly and we should be more custom-oriented. Not less than commercial enterprises or some other non-state institutions. For marketing now, we are also train our personnel, and we are preparing the rating of the top managers of these institutions. A lot depends on people. Okay, may I ask one question? Of course you can. So the Committee of Culture. So how many people are coming from? So people for coming from other cities, for example. Let's speak about them. Let's speak about the share of these people. So people coming from other cities, they come to Moscow to see some cultural sites. Here not only the Department of Culture is responsible for this. Also the Department of Trade is responsible, because we make a lot of festivals and fairs. The Department of Tourism also promotes the brand together with the Department of External Links. We have an extensive program on Moscow Days in Moscow itself, and also in other regions. It's very difficult to say what people come to Moscow and why they should come. But if they don't, they are not interested in Moscow, they are not interested in a lot of sites of Moscow, they won't come. Our parks in Moscow, they are very safe. There's the safest one. The criminal rate in the city is not so high, is quite low in Moscow, but our parks are really very safe, because we also have this video surveillance. The cameras work. This is very important to do this work. People don't see a lot of security wearing weapons, and that's also positive. We have cameras, and these cameras monitor what is happening in around. Thank you very much for your comment. Of course, everybody is participating in creating the image of our city. Now, I would like to speak about the following subject. For 4 years, I have been working in Tatarstan Republic. On now, the World Cup, is finalized, and I saw a lot of different people in the city, and this is one of the biggest projects which took place in Kazakhstan. Oksana, please, you are welcome. Good afternoon. I'm happy to see you all. Kazan and Tatarstan are always happy to be present here at this beautiful panel and also participate in this subject. Tatarstan has competitive advantages. As Sergei said, first of all, we have a comprehensive approach. We try to develop all sectors of the region. We have some sectors in which we really prosper, and this influence on touristic attraction of the region. And tourism also allows to invest in different sectors. This market is not only the place for travel, but also the place for living and for making some events. Can you also switch on my presentation if it's possible? Okay, let's speak without the presentation. If we speak about some sports events, Kazan here is really well known. We had Universiade, the World Cup, and more than 100 championship, of large-scale championships. This is additional investment, of course, and here we have a lot of coverage of different audience. Thanks to these events, we have additional investments to infrastructure. It doesn't work for some reason. Maybe somebody can help me. Okay, I already mentioned this global events. Of course, it has an impact on infrastructure. It has an impact on citizens because they realize that we will have tourists, and it's quite quick. Also, we can see some good results from touristic industry. Sports events also sometimes are not drivers for some events. We can build stadiums, but if there is no content, tourists won't come. They will not come. That's why during events, sports events, you should also show some other sides to people. And that's why here we have formula availability of infrastructure. And this is a good approach. The content can be strong. You know some cultures of South and Eastern Asia, but if you have only one infrastructure, this is a failure. You should always promote other sides, and that's why you should have some kind of balance. The majority of projects in Tatarstan, heritage, parks, investments, they are done for development of identity of the region. Why do we do this? People should identify themselves with this territory, with this region. The brightest the identity is, more money people pay for this. That's why we should do a lot of work linked with identity. And today we have the project. I will speak about this project. We don't say just go to Tatarstan. We understand that live as a local is very important, and the key idea of the brand Tatarstan 1001 pleasure. Some people say that in Tatarstan everything is great. There is cool infrastructure, good events, but there is no sea. No sea for tourists. We found the sea, and so the key idea is 1001 pleasure. In Tatarstan we have the sea. This is the sea of pleasures. The sea of pleasures, it means many pleasures in Russian. This gives a lot of opportunities for different people. People can find a lot of things in Tatarstan: food, aesthetics, culture, and this becomes the way to attract people. We understand that we compete with a lot of regions with a lot of content. And for example, we also compete with Riga, and here we had to create one vision, and we should understand key idea, and we have to promote this idea. So when I speak about all travel agency, I speak about everybody, museums, everything, and restaurants, museums, and we have an official brand, Visit Tatarstan, and we have a goal to enhance well-being of Tatarstan. This brand is not only a picture for us. This brand is an umbrella of all touristic destinations in Tatarstan. We go to other regions. We have a lot of regions in Tatarstan. And for more efficient implementation, we developed the program of touristic destination development. This is the strategy with very valuable content. We work in one visual environment, and tourists can have Tatarstan. Can see that Tatarstan stands out. What do we see? What do we have? What do we do here? We do marketing works. We promote our brand. This is external and also internal activities. We try to increase loyalty of tourists towards this territory. Speaking about marketing, we form a communication strategy. We have some promising markets, for example, the countries of Persian Gulf, B2B and B2C market directions. You can see how many activities we had. This year we launched B2C. This is ads of AeroExpress and cinemas. Also, we have a work in social networks. We have portal. People can get renewed information. Also, sometimes promotions can be done in vain if the industry itself is not ready. It's important for tourists to get what is promised. That's why in Tatarstan also we do a lot of work. For example, we also do a lot of trainings, educational works before some global events. We classify hotels. We always develop new routes, new food, new products, and also bonuses. We give some professional bonuses. Population should be ready to accept tourists. They should understand that tourists, they give money to the budget. Also, we have a calendar of events. The festivals should have tight schedules. Now we have the service of quality. This is online system. Tourists can give feedback during 24 hours, and we solve the issues quickly with the help of this online service. We calculate also a lot of things. We make analytical work, and then we we learn lessons from some things. For example, we try to detect index of quality, portrait of tourists. We try to understand what tourists come to us, audit mysterious guests. This year we launched the program Online Manager. We want to understand what people speak, what people say about Tatarstan in internet. This is all done for the end tourist. He should live in a comfortable environment, and he should be happy in Tatarstan. Development of tourism in the Republic, this is a stable flow of investments which would help to develop the territory, to create job places, and we can do this only via two things. The president of our republic has a very clear understanding of importance of tourism as a sector of economy, support of investment projects, alignment of efforts of agencies under his charge, young and advanced officials work, and they all influence on development of Tatarstan programs and on the image of Tatarstan. And then the team which we have, the team has a lot of representatives from different departments. Here we have all parties who are interested in all this, and we all promote this brand, Go to Tatarstan. This is all about Tatarstan. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please, you are welcome. Thank you very much. Anna?
Thank you very much for such a comprehensive view on the brand and tourism. Unfortunately, I had little time to share with you everything. Well, this is my biggest fear as a moderator, that you will tell me everything, because our audience wants to hear more, you want to tell more, while I have to respect the agenda. So I'll keep my question for the Q&A session. Well, now I would like to give floor to the Tourism Party President, Pascal. You know, Switzerland and Sweden are confused in Russia, and Switzerland is something that comes first. So Sweden works for you. But let's speak about Switzerland, of course.
Try to shorten up a little bit. Maybe I can have the clipper also. I think I do it in 4 specific points. We have a similar question than Amsterdam and other cities have in Switzerland. We have very successful cities like Zurich, Lucerne, Bern, but we have the luck that they are in a really small country. So that's the reason why we founded the Tourism Party, to explain our people that the big Switzerland, the big picture of Switzerland is one big city, and we can change a lot of touristic behavior and also using our city and our land by doing really specific architecture, and also use the public transfer. So we founded this independent organization, the Tourism Party of Switzerland, to try to make out of Switzerland an inner ring with the cities like Zurich, Bern, Lucerne, as I mentioned, and an outer ring with the alpine destinations, like we have 3 cantons, Grisons, Valais, Bernoise. And I think this could be a solution also for other cities or maybe regions in other countries, to try to bring the different products in the country together and make huger or greater areas out of the cities. When I come back to Amsterdam, I can say the Amsterdam area is the Swiss area. If we speak about Amsterdam Beach, we speak about Ticino in Switzerland, which is the summer place for a lot of people, also for the tourists. Then we have the Swiss mountain area, as I mentioned. And I think we have one of the best public transfer in the world. So everybody can be at every place in Switzerland within 2 hours, 30 minutes. Even at my place, I'm coming up from Rosa in the mountains, 3,500 people living there, and we are part of Zurich, as we tell to our guests. And I think this could be a chance to see it in the future. sorry, I want only to show you this one also, that you see how huge importance the tourism has for our small country. Every fourth person is working in tourism, and we don't have a really big audience in the parliament, with our government, with our president. So this is the task we have, to bring up this important industry more in the head and in the mind of our people. And when I go further, it's just a question, what makes the small cities going well? What makes the chance for the small cities to be part of the big cities? And I mentioned a few points. I try to be fast, as I told you. These are points which are important for small villages, small cities. But the most important thing is not written here. This is to get part of a city. So let's come back to this example. The small village, Arosa, has to be part of Zurich. And then it's working, I think also in the future. Then it's working for touristic behavior, for ideas, how we want to talk to the tourists. You see a huge city with all you want, similar to Amsterdam, similar in a small way to Moscow. And next you have the emotion and the experience from the mountains, which are all the people are also looking for. So this is the way we try to go, and I want to show you also how we communicate with these pictures. And I want here also to mention something what I think it's important also for my friends from Moscow and from Russia. You are very friendly. I came here yesterday, also 3 weeks ago. I think you are very friendly people, and you have to show that. And it's the same for Switzerland. These pictures are from our tourism organization. Do you see a person on the picture? No. In my eyes, it's completely wrong to communicate like that. We need to show the faces of our people, the faces which stand behind the product, behind the country. And you stay with your faces for your country, and we do it the same for Switzerland. I think in this, we have to get better in the future and to bring together all the touristic interests. That's what we want to do with the tourism party. And I can tell you what, we have the luck to have one of the best sportsmen in Switzerland. Right now he's playing in Wimbledon. I mean Roger Federer. And Roger Federer will, after his career, be the face for Switzerland in the world and try to say, hey, visit my country, Switzerland, see all the different things. And that's the way we should go in the future. And I hope this is a little bit an impulse also for the thoughts we have all in our jobs and in our tourism interests. Thanks.
Спасибо, Паскаль.
Thank you very much, Pascal, for such an emotional presentation on the tourism party. We have one more speaker from the Department of International Relations of Ankara, Mr. Ramazan Kabasakal. One capital more. Can you tell us about your marketing strategy? You have the floor, Ramazan. Thank you very much, Sergey. It is always very difficult to be the last speaker because the floor is a bit tired and wants the panel to come to an end. But, you know, we do like sweets in Turkey. We have a lot of sweet products, and baklava is a sweet dish that is always offered in the end of any meal. And I hope that my presentation would be similar to baklava. It would be the sweet dish offered in the end of the meal. Can I speak Turkish, if you receive the translation? Well, Ankara is an administrative city, so we don't have that many tourists compared to Istanbul or Antalya. I think most of you heard or have been to these two cities, so we can't count with such a huge number of tourists. We're just an administrative capital. At the same time, we're one of the most developed cities in the world. And we do a lot to develop the cultural component of our city so that we can attract visitors to our city. But our main challenge is that we receive a lot of business visitors and civil servants, official delegations, while we receive few private tourists. And our strategy, of course, is to get more regular tourists so that we can make Ankara a center of the Anatolian region. We have over 5 million people in Turkey, and we managed to preserve historical buildings in Ankara. They are from the 15th century, and being in Ankara, you can see not only the modern districts but also the ancient districts. This is briefly the presentation of our city with some parks and recreational areas. I would like to quickly go to the historical part of the city. We did quite a lot in terms of urban planning and transportation. Now coming to the historical heritage. Now, Ankara is a 4,000 to 5,000 year history because we have buildings from the Roman times. The white building on the picture used to be a Jewish synagogue, then it became a Christian cathedral, and now it's a mosque. And we try to show three religions, three monotheistic religions with this building. And the three confessions can celebrate their rituals in this building. So that, of course, shows that we respect the three confessions and we're open to every religion and confession. The historical pictures of the city, we try to avoid international brand hotels in the city, and we try to make local or foster local hotels in the historical part of the city so that people can experience the lifestyle of the 15th or 16th century. The Ankara Disneyland, Anka Park. It is not only an amusement park, but it tells quite a lot about the history of Turkey through amusement, of course. So there are a lot of educative programs for children. We get over 10 million tourists a year. That's not a lot, but we continue working on making Ankara not only a political but also a cultural city. Anka Park is among the biggest entertainment parks in the world. There are quite a lot of attractions. My presentation is a little bit brief, but anyway, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present Ankara. I have also a brief video, if that is possible. Is it going to be a brief video? Well, a video about the Anka Park. It has to go with the music as well. Well, unfortunately, we have little time left. I do understand that everybody here could share a lot more about their cities. My last question to all the participants, and please be brief answering it, because we're talking about local marketing champions. Do you think your city, your country or region is a champion of this local marketing in 2017? Let's start from Amsterdam.
Well, obviously we have done very well, and we did so much marketing that we now have to face this challenge. But I think Amsterdam is one of the leading cities in Europe trying to tackle this problem of overcrowded cities. So if we would be a champion, it would be a champion in finding solutions for this challenge.
Спасибо. Riga.
Riga now. Well, we are champions, I am quite sure of that. And I already told you that every visitor has 3 tourists. Well, that was a modest answer. Now, Moscow. Well, it's difficult to compete with Riga because, you know, we have 20 million here, and if we use Riga's proportion, we'll have to have 60 million tourists. Well, answering seriously, among the European cities, we're the change champions, I would say. And we're quite close to other European capitals. On average, you can reach Moscow in 3 hours by plane, and we try to be a champion. Now, Tatarstan. Well, we are modest, so we'll try to be modest. We have only 3 million tourists a year. That is, I'd say nothing. And this is quite little, although we do rank quite high in Russia, but we still have room for improvement. That is a new trend. Switzerland? Are you a champion?
80% of the guests visiting Switzerland the first time come back. So I think our product is a champion product. But the communication and the marketing we can get better because we should have more visitors coming the first time every year. So product champion, yes. Communication champion, we have to work on it.
Спасибо. И Ramazan.
And Ramazan, are you a champion in Ankara in terms of tourist marketing? Well, compared to Istanbul or Antalya, we're not champions, but we still have room for improvement. But you know, it is also a good guide, a good beacon we can follow. Now, thank you. Thanks to all the panelists and the floor. Have a